Hey, how you doing? Thanks for downloading the show. Welcome to Garden Fork Radio. It's Eclectic DIY. Today I'm here with my friend Kent. We're going to talk about the right to repair and some excellent good things that have happened in the right to repair movement. How's that for me for mangling the opening? And then pumpkins, and then alternatives to glycophosphate. So welcome, Ken.
Hello. It's an honor. Thank you.
So Kent and I had breakfast the last time I was visiting my sister in St. Louis, and he bought breakfast, which was my criteria for meeting him. So
it was worth it.
And I love little diners in small towns, and I love to order biscuits and gravy because they actually make it rather than it coming out of a box, which I enjoy. So you, in addition to doing a couple other things, you manage 2 or 3 farms, is that correct?
Yeah, I sort of split my time between, let's call it investment capital and agriculture farming. I grew up on a farm and have bought farms, and now I'm trying to manage a farm that's rolled over since my father and brother passed away. So it's a bigger enterprise.
And we were talking about tractors, and you had a Kubota tractor hat on when we met.
Yep.
And I said, oh, I have a Kubota BX23, which is a 3-cylinder, small little tractor. And then you said you have like 4 or 5 tractors, and I felt humbled.
Well, we have the farm in the Ozarks, which is small. And then we have a larger farm on the border of Iowa, Missouri, which is larger. So in the Ozarks, Kubotas are pretty predominant because you're really raising hay and cattle. As I told you, we tried to raise some industrial hemp, with some challenges with that, but you don't need the horsepower and all the implements. One thing that is true in ag, and I think everybody agree with it, if you go to different parts of the Midwest and you see a color of tractor, it's usually associated with the dealer. In a lot of ways, you're buying the dealer first because that's the most critical component, which feeds into this subject we're going to be talking about.
Right. So the right to repair movement has been growing as companies are making products that, I don't know if the word is on purpose, but they're less repairable than things used to be. Like it used to be you could pop the back off your television and replace a tube or a transistor or a transformer or something. And now if you try and open the back of something, even your computer, it will just break and then you can't fix it. And to that point, I'm specifically talking about John Deere. They were involved in some litigation because they made their tractors contractually, you're not allowed to try and fix them, I believe.
Correct. That's correct.
And that has changed.
That is changing. This has been going on for quite a while. So just to give some background to listeners, when I was growing up, my grandfather was a big, in parts of Missouri, Iowa, you're either green or red, right? You're IH or John Deere.
Yep.
I grew up with my grandfather fixing every piece of equipment he had. He was red. And I remember him breaking his arm a couple times, cranking the thing to start it in the winter and all that stuff. I mean, it's real. But you depended on your neighbors because if you needed to fix something, it's with baling wire or a neighbor's got a part. Didn't have a concentration of dealerships. And that's how you got by. And you didn't have manuals, right? You didn't have YouTube. So what's happened now is it's kind of a closed ecosystem in agriculture. I can get into the other parts besides tractors, but I'll just talk about tractors for a minute. As they've grown, they've closed the system in on technology, to your point, your analogy on computers, but also with distribution. And so they have contractually made it illegal for you to do work, get a hold of manuals, subcontract it to somebody else. That's been going on for quite a while. So John Deere has probably got the biggest closed ecosystem out there at this time. So this has been going on for 10 to 15 years. Different states have tried to force an open, more of an open environment. and they've been doing it piece by piece. What Farm Bureau has finally done is consolidated these groups, and I think we're at 10 states now. I used to have a list, but I can pull it up. And they have forced what everybody will understand from the Iran conflict, memorandum of understanding, which is a really nice thing to list, terms before you do a contract, but it's not binding. Then the FTC got involved with several of these states, and they're starting to put some meat on the bones. So I think this thing will expand rapidly and encompass a lot of states. And I give Farm Bureau a lot of credit for making that happen from all these disparate efforts. I won't give Farm Bureau credit on a lot of other things, but they've done a good job of this. Make sense?
Totally. The whole idea of buying what can be $1 million piece of equipment or hundreds
Easily.
of thousands of dollars, and then, oh, you're not allowed to fix the fuel line or something, or replace any kind of part. It kind of goes against what I think, at least the DIY sphere, or maybe America, is all about, is just kind of an individuality and being able to fix stuff and roll with it and be out there in the field with a stick welder and weld the axle back on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've got an old 8-in Ford that I can fix and repair. I don't know if it was you who was talking about fixing an old Volkswagen Beetle, which I've done.
That was me. Yeah.
These new pieces of equipment, with circuit boards, it's like a car. I mean, you just can't reach in there and do it. The fact you can't subcontract it out or have one of your guys who work for you fix it, like I've got people up that lease my land. It really was a constraint that wasn't realistic if you're an operator. And this frees people up to have more flexibility. There is a really good, I know you're good at this. Do you ever look at Tractor Mike's YouTube?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to.
Go to Tractor Mike. He will tell you, this guy's an ex-dealer. He knows everything. He's in my neck of the woods, you would say. Everything about this situation and plenty more. If you're a small farmer, small tractor guy, he knows everything. And that is a great source for the background on this thing.
I have seen up where our little house is in the woods in Connecticut, the John Deere dealerships being bought up and consolidated.
They're all being consolidated, correct.
And that's also happening with the veterinary practices. So
that's a fact.
And so it makes there's this anonymous corporate structure that's dictating your relationship with your tractor dealer or with your veterinarian. And that I'm not a big fan of that, honestly.
Well, in my past, that was my career, rolling things up. I won't tell you what, but I'm not sure it was a good thing. So I agree with you.
But I'm excited because there is a group called, I think it's righttorepair.org. I will drop it into the notes here.
Yes.
And they are a grassroots group that I've donated some money to. And I think I learned of them through ifixit.com, which is a website that provides the parts and videos of how to take apart your laptop or your phone and fix it. And I greatly benefited from a bunch of people's kind of open source contributing. They have mechanics on staff, electrical mechanics, I would call them. But you could also upload your own how-to video on their site about how to fix a certain kind of computer or phone or something. And I fixed a bunch of my computers and at least one phone. One of my phones I broke. And I just was like, okay, the parts are too small for my hands. But they have been, I don't know if the word is instrumental. They've been very active in the Right to Repair movement and getting the word out and talking to legislators about this. Because you can bet that the big corporations of the world are definitely talking to legislators as well and trying to get them to vote on their side of the idea, in other words, they want to lock up the repair thing and we want to make it more open source.
Yeah, I've got to be a little careful because I've got relatives and friends that are involved in the John Deere dealership ecosystem.
Yeah,
as we call it. But yeah, it's definitely, and I never heard of this group before, so that was valuable when you sent it through to me. But I knew about the push against the big big three and open source.
I have not run into that issue with our Kubota tractor, but
It's
it's
on the list.
it's a Yanmar 3-cylinder diesel
Yes.
with a starter and a battery and a hydraulic pump.
Yes. I'm a Kubota fan, so as you know.
Yeah, I love my little tractor. I wish it was a little bit bigger, but me and my buddy, who has a little house, he's got a lot of acreage in the same town I live in. And during the pandemic, we went to he says, "Hey, I got to go get my chainsaw fixed. You want to go to the store?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go for a ride." And he brings me to the chainsaw place, which also happens to sell Kubota tractors. And like, "Hey, look at this. We could buy this for 0% interest." And I'm like, "Okay."
That was probably a steel chainsaw, but I love Kubota. I mean, and you ought to look at Tractor Mike's videos because his one recommendation is once you're settled in on a tractor, get something bigger. And it's always been the best advice I've heard.
Well, we had bought a John Deere 1050, which is
I remember that.
It's considered a compact tractor.
Yeah.
It's not.
No.
It's a 40 horse turbo diesel.
Yep.
But we both realized it was way too big. I could barely turn it around in my yard, let alone we do a lot of work in the woods.
Yeah, I saw that.
On my friend's property, we're dropping trees. He wants to build a pond and stuff like this. So we sold that in about 10 seconds. And the people that bought it were so happy. They sent me a couple of videos of them using it to move. They cut down big trees and brought them to their sawmill, and they built a barn.
Oh, wow.
So the tractor has a forever home. They're really great people. But we got the BX23, and now that we use it, it's great. But what I did do is the wheelbase is fairly narrow. So you can buy on eBay, I don't know if they're aluminum or stainless, but they're essentially axle spacers that push the wheel off the hub. And that added about 6 inches to the wheelbase, which doesn't sound like much, but it was a huge difference.
Are you in tippy terrain? I mean,
I live in a hill.
I live in the mountains, so
yeah,
Ozark Highlands.
But anyway, but I'm thinking it would be nice to. My friend will eventually buy a bigger one, and I will just borrow it. He's going to buy that one himself. Yeah, that's what I decided.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Totally.
So another one you brought up here is pumpkin planting in the flood, and I know you showed me some pictures of the floods out there, and that was. So is this related to that?
Yeah, we're on the Upper Merrimack, and I bought this place because I'm a big fly fisherman, and it's trout and smallmouth bass, which if you've never fished smallmouth in a river, it's pretty exciting. But it is subject to flooding. We had a 7.5 inch in one night rain, wiped out the roads, and I built a lake. Speaking of lakes, in the dam, I had 3 contractors in and never got it right. Finally got it right in the collapsed part of the dam on the spillway. So I guess my only point there is backing up the pumpkins. My daughter, 20 years ago, she's now in San Francisco, as I told you, but she put together a thing for inner city kids at her church to come out to one of our farms, and we would have a pumpkin picking thing and a hay rack ride. I have a hay rack wagon, had a bunch of them, and then we would have bonfires and all that stuff. And most of these kids had never seen the outside of the city, so it was pretty cool. And then COVID happened, it kind of got stalled, and I got a call from the person in charge of it because my daughter's not around anymore. She's in San Francisco, and said, "Would you do this again?" I said, "Sure, I would be." I miss that. I love watching those little kids pick the pumpkins and get excited, and it's a lot of fun. But it's done nothing but rain here, which is not typical of this time of year in Missouri.
No.
So I'm going to make a statement, which you always try to stay away from politics, and I'm not talking politics, but those people who are denying climate change have never farmed. I'm just going to say that.
That's not political at all.
So there's advantages to that to some extent, because if you don't put a pumpkin in by late May we use different varieties in Missouri, you're not going to get a yield in time for these kids to come out, right? Pre-Halloween a little bit. Because of global warming, I was able to put it in last week after the floods. 110 days maturity, 100, maybe 100, somewhere in that range. Because I use Harris seeds out of Pennsylvania, and I would have never been able to do that 10 years ago, ever. So my only statement there is, kids are great, pumpkins are great, hayrack rides are great. Climate is changing.
Oh, I see that in the maple syrup world. We are tapping our trees. Tapping our trees in February when we used to plant. We used to tap on President's Day.
Yeah.
So, and also the Maple Trader newspaper. Just to go that I really don't feel this is political. It has been politicized, but it isn't. Is every article in the Maple Trader newspaper, and that's basically articles written by and for old school New Englanders, old school Yankees. They all mention climate change as affecting their business, and just the earlier time, and it's also the percentage of sugar has been affected sometimes. So, yeah.
Well, on a bigger scale, corn, soybeans, Iowa, we're getting it in earlier, but we never had this kind of moisture in the middle of summer. And, farmers are either don't have enough rain or too much rain.
Yeah.
Well, in my situation, it's been too much rain. So we've had to replant a couple times, early in the spring. We'll see how it turns out, but it's not as predictable as it once was.
So with too much rain, does it wash the beans out or the seeds out?
It rots the seeds.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And then later, if it's too wet, you can't harvest it, perhaps?
Well, that's correct. Yes.
Hey, real quick, I have a new link for the Garden Fork store on Amazon. If you happen to be shopping on Amazon, appreciate it if you use my link to go to Amazon and start your shopping. The link will be in the show notes here. It's a universal link. I can explain it later in the podcast sometime, but just please use that link. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Do you are you familiar with the town that we have breakfast in?
Yeah, some exciting news there, but yes, go ahead.
So
Specific.
I went to high school in St. Louis, and I always had a car, and we would bomb around. It's no secret that if you lived in St. Louis area, you could cross the river into these small towns in Illinois and buy beer. So we would, then we'd go back and then do, stupid stuff. But anyway, I never went to Pacific, though. I've been to Eureka, was where we would go buy our fireworks, and just down the road from that is Pacific. And you said, well, we could meet in Pacific because you live quite a ways west of St. Louis.
Yeah.
And I only had a limited amount of time because I had my sister's car. So, and you pull into this town, and there's these caves on the right-hand side. There's this really cool railroad track. And there wasn't that Dollar General store strip mall look that so many small towns have anymore. And I really like that.
Yeah, it's a neat little town. I mean, it's a jewel that people don't know about. The limestone caves are pretty unique, although if you keep coming my way, and someday you will, I'll show you some other spots like that. But yeah, it's a neat little town, and we had breakfast at a chain that I know the owners of, small chain. You didn't have biscuits and gravy. I think you had a sandwich or something. But anyway.
Oh, sorry. Next time. But that was a family-owned chain of restaurants. It wasn't.
Yep.
It wasn't a Popeye's breakfast or whatever the heck they're called.
The big news in Pacific. Did you read that, or were you going to a point there?
No, I just wanted to talk about small town I liked.
Well, so are you familiar with the big boy engine that just came through St. Louis?
Yes. This is a giant steam locomotive that was rebuilt by Union Pacific. Is that correct?
Yep. And I wanted to go see it, but I got delayed. Anyway, I guess it was going through there. So the two big news around this area is the 100th anniversary of Highway 66, as you and I talked about. There are a lot of events going back and forth on that one. The second big news, which I thought was pretty interesting, and I got a brother-in-law who used to run all the was overseeing all the utilities in Missouri. There was a data center that was going to Pacific, and they were going to use one of those caves. I don't have enough detail on this to tell you anything else.
Right.
But will tell you it was voted down. So
Yay.
there's no data center going into Pacific. That's the big news.
Yeah, they suck some power, don't they?
Well, it's not just the power; it's the water. They get into reserves. One was being proposed. We're in the forest here in the Ozarks, in the Ozark National Forest. We don't want them anywhere around our spring-fed rivers. And I'm not anti-data centers. I just think they have to be strategic, and they got to be self-contained. I don't want to be paying their power bills.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, the business I'm involved with is pretty dependent on that AI stuff. So I got to be a little careful with it. But if it wrecks the environment, what do you get out of it? I'm sure you're going to get a lot of calls on that one.
No. Did those limestone caves was there a brewery in Pacific? Did I have that right?
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
And they kept their beer in the
start it
caves?
up again. Yeah.
It just had I just want to go back there. It was like a Sunday morning, I think. Was it Sunday morning? Yeah, because my sister.
Yeah, Sunday.
And it just had a really great feel. And I'm like, I wanted to go back actually and take pictures, because I take a lot of pictures of buildings and infrastructure. I don't take too many pictures with people in them. I'm kind of on purpose, because I think you have to ask people before you do that.
That's polite.
Those meta glasses are freaking me out. So
Haven't tried them.
I didn't think you would, Kent. Well, cool. We've actually been talking here for a while. We're doing this on Zoom, trying this out, and I do not have a Zoom account, so I'm limited into how long we get to talk. But we're going to do the after show after this. If you guys are interested in being a supporter of that, there'll be information in the show notes, or patreon.com/gardenfork. A cup of coffee a month. Kent is a patron. Thank you, Kent.
I am.
You have to be a patron to be on the show. That's just the rule. That didn't go over too well.
I've described all the things I picked up from you, so I'm very appreciative.
Yeah, and well, I also appreciate people like you, because I learned stuff about farming that I didn't really think about at all. Like, rain, and if you have too much rain, it rots your seed. It never occurred to me, So that might be obvious to you, but it's not obvious to me. So anyway, Kent and I are going to hang out. We're going to do the after show. We neither of us have very much hair left, but we're going to let our hair down a little more. And if you guys have any thoughts, it's gardenfork87@gmail.com. Do you have a right to repair story? That would be cool, because I'm kind of excited about that. All right. Thank you, everyone. Make it a great day, and we'll see you later.
Garden Fork Radio is produced by Garden Fork Media LLC in Brooklyn, New York. The music in the show is licensed from audioblocks.com and uniquetracks.com.